Blog Talk Radio.
But we are making a stand, and we're waking everybody up that 9/11 was an inside job.
Hello?
And you are the minority. You are the cowards who don't know the truth. You're the people that serve this evil system. You're the people that serve a system that hurts innocent men, women, and children. Not just Iraqis, not just Afghans, not just Africans, but the people right here in this nation. You serve a new world order that attacks and feeds on you. And I'm here to tell you that you will be defeated. Your hours are numbered. We've got the energy. We've got the life force. All you've got is evil backing you up. All you've got is greed and liking to look at yourself in the mirror. Because deep down, the New World Order is a pot-bellied, chicken-necked ninny. And all the armor and all the weapons are nothing. You are nothing compared to good. You are nothing compared to life. And you will be defeated. I want the individuals out there, I want free humanity to turn themselves loose, to cut the chains loose, and to use the end of that chain to slap the New World Order right upside the head. You've got the power. You want to know who's going to defeat the New World Order? It is you. You're the individuals that are going to be able to defeat this system. You're the individuals that are going to be able to take down the New World Order. It doesn't matter if Ron Paul wins. It doesn't matter if they rig the election. What matters is that we're starting to stand up. We're starting to move. We're starting to find our legs. We're starting to build our muscle. We're starting to realize that we do have power, and we can work together, and we can take action, and that the naysayers are a pack of weak liars who have never had any successes in their life and who are upset and frustrated to see us beginning to have victories against tyranny. They don't have any respect for themselves. They don't have any vision, and they don't have any will. And they sure don't have any of the power that shines out of God's soul and energizes all life in the universe. They have wed themselves to death. And they will crumble, and they will fall, and for eternity, we wed ourselves to life, and to everything good, and everything that flows from it.
Everybody, Joseph Gibson, podcasting here from Greensboro, North Carolina. We got a packed house here tonight. A lot of people listening, a lot of people in the chat room, a lot of people listening via the internet like they always do. Some people are scared to talk on this podcast. That's fine. You can just listen in. There's nothing wrong with that. Today is September 11th, 2019. And we know what happened 18 years ago on September 11th, 2001. The World Trade Centers were blown up. Yes, I don't know if any planes flew into the buildings or not. Many people say no, they did not, but eyewitness accounts say yes, planes did. But if you watch video of the World Trade Center and what had happened, you could see explosions happening. And you listen to eyewitness accounts. There were explosions at the bottom of the basement of the World Trade Center. And before I open up the phone lines here and allow everyone to speak about 9/11 or whatever they want to talk about, I'd like to try to concentrate on 9/11 and why it happened. And if anyone wants to offer information about that, I have a bunch, but I'm not going to lecture everybody here tonight and talk about it. And be called a wacko or a nut job, but you can do your own research and understand why the World Trade Centers had to come down. You have to understand they were the World Trade Centers. And the corporation was bankrupted at that time, and if you understand business law and you understand bankruptcy laws and you understand the World Trade System and the Federal Reserve System and the central banks around the world, you would understand why they had to pull a false flag on that day. And it's just very, very, very strange that, Big Daddy George Bush on September 11th, 1991, gave his New World Order speech 5 times, actually, and that was the 5th objective of the New World Order. And a lot of people just don't understand the New World Order. They don't get it. They don't understand the Federal Reserve. When you start talking about the Federal Reserve and money, how it works, and how the money changers around the world are controlling you and monopolizing the world's resources, and the bartering system that you're forced to use, and you are forced to use a particular bartering system that has a control system above it that higher powers, and it's a spiritual war also. And a lot of people like to discredit the Bible and everything. That's fine, but these people actually are evil. And we start really getting deep into that part of world history, world religion, and which I have studied for many years and have studied the New World Order. But everyone out there, press number 1 if you want to come on to the podcast here tonight. The phone number is 657-383-0616. I do not screen callers. I do not censor callers. I don't give your phone number out unless you want to be a complete idiot and do something silly. But if you want to add to the podcast here tonight, I didn't advertise this show too much, but we got quite a following here tonight. A lot of people suspected me to do a show on 9/11, and I don't know where a lot of my supporters are, but I see a lot of other numbers out there. Real quick here before I open up the phone lines also, actually, before I read something here real quick, I may be a guest on another Blog Talk radio show, Tap Into the Truth. I was invited to be a guest on that show on Friday night at 8 p.m. I'll give that information out, of course, to my friends and followers, where you can call in and listen and maybe contribute also. Tap Into the Truth. And I want to give a shout-out to Global Patriot Network also. Other Blog Talk shows out there. There are 10,000 Blog Talk radio shows out there. Just imagine if we all united and brought our voices together, what voice we would have on a social media platform instead of arguing about Donald Trump, whether or not he's a racist, or about a governor that wore blackface. You know, just imagine if we could examine the facts and understand the times in which we live in today. Real quick here before I open up, I'm going to bring John on first. John, actually, he and I spoke privately, and he wanted me to do a show here tonight. And I want to let him speak a little bit here tonight on this podcast here, and then, of course, we'll take other callers. But, you know, a report by Paul Craig Roberts, every informed person is aware that the elements of the U.S. government were involved either in the cover-up of the 9/11 attacks, okay? Although the United States is allegedly a democracy, which it is not, we know that. It's a republic. It was founded as a republic, but it is supposedly a democracy today, so I can't take away from that part of the article here. With the rule of law, it has taken 17 years for public pressure to bring about the first grand jury investigation of 9/11. Based on the work of architects and engineers for 9/11, Truth, led by Richard Cage, first responder and pilots organizations, books by David Ray Griffin. Finally, this is being brought to light. And a lot of people are, of course, you're not going to hear about it on Fox and Phony Friends. You're not going to hear about it through your Fox News contributors who are paid to say what they're told, are paid basically to say what they're told to say and read from a teleprompter, or CNN or other media outlets. However, this puts the U.S. Justice Department in an extraordinary position. Every informed person is aware that elements of the U.S. government were involved either in the preparation of the 9/11 attacks or in a cover-up of the attacks. There will be tremendous pressures on the U.S. Attorney's Office to have the grand jury dismiss the evidence as an unpatriotic conspiracy theory or otherwise maneuver to discredit the evidence presented by the Lawyers Committee, or modify the official account without totally discrediting it. We can have hopes that the United States can establish a true story of its own Reichstag fire. And we know about the Reichstag fire. Hitler actually invented these false flags. He burnt down his own Reichstag building and blamed it on the communists, and that's why he invaded the Soviet Union, and the people were behind him because of it. Look that up in your history books. True history, by the way. But I am not holding my breath that the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York could stand up to the powerful elements in the deep state that perpetrated or covered up the 9/11 false flag attacks, or that it is inclined to try. What the 9/11 truthers and the lawyers' committees have achieved is the destruction of the designation of 9/11 skeptics as conspiracy theorists. No U.S. attorney would convene a grand jury on the basis of a conspiracy theory. Clearly, the evidence is compelling that has put the U.S. attorney in an unbelievable position. The likely result will be comparable to the U.S. Congress' belated investigation of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. No expert or informed person believed the obviously false story that Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated President John F. Kennedy. And we all know, I've talked about this many times, the driver turned around and shot President Kennedy. He finished the job. Yes, there were people from the grassy knoll that shot at the president, but they missed. I think one guy hit him in the throat, and then the driver turned around and put one in his head. Just look at the Zapruder film. Why else would JFK's wife try to jump out of the back of the car? If people are shooting at your car, what would your first instinct and reaction be? If they're shooting at your car from towers or buildings from above, or from the grassy knoll or from the crowd, what would you do? You'd duck down in the bottom of the back seat, wouldn't you? You'd try to cover yourself up and hide. So why would you try to jump out of the back of the car if people are shooting at you from the audience or from buildings above? Common sense, right? What would you do if someone was if you were driving in a convertible, and just hypothetically here, what happened actually, someone turned around and pointed a gun at your husband's face. What would you do? You'd jump out of the back of the car, right? Then that's what happened. So, but anyway, that's that truth is still out there, and people still don't want to believe it. They think Lee Harvey Oswald shot from a building way above, and But anyway, we know why JFK was killed, because he created Executive Order 11001, which was he was beginning to abolish the Federal Reserve, and that's why he created reinstated the greenbacks. We can go into this all night long, folks, but JFK was strongly against the Federal Reserve banking cartel, and they killed him. And Vietnam was also in part there. They wanted to go into Vietnam. There was money involved there. The Kong was supposed to pay $1 billion in reparations, and they didn't. But and then they staged the Gulf of Tonkin incident, and we went into Vietnam, and 58,000 people lost their lives in Vietnam, thinking they were fighting for our freedom. Okay, but they weren't. Just like Afghanistan, they're not fighting for our freedom. They're not over there fighting for our freedom. Okay, but anyway, the likely result will be comparable. Again, let's see here. Let's pick up where we left off. All evidence pointed to a plot by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, CIA, and Secret Service, whose right-wing leaders had concluded that President Kennedy was too soft on communism to do what was necessary for the U.S. to prevail in the contest with the Soviet Union. Expert and public disbelief of the official story was so great that in 1976, 13 years after Kennedy's assassination, Congress investigated. The real culprits were, of course, not identified, but two important results were forthcoming. One was the conclusion by the Select Committee on Assassination that President Kennedy was the victim of a conspiracy and not of a lone gunman. And we just talked about that. The other was the release of the top-secret Project Northwoods, which revealed the Joint Chiefs plan presented to President Kennedy for the U.S. government to kill U.S. citizens and shoot down U.S. airlines and place the blame on Castro in order to gain public acceptance for an invasion of Cuba. I forgot to bring that up. Cuba was also a part of the original plan there also. The conclusion that a conspiracy, although unidentified, was involved in Kennedy's assassination. Blah, 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 blah. All right. If the Lawyers Committee and the 9/11 truthers trust the U.S. Attorney to go entirely by the facts, little will come of the grand jury. If the United States had a rule of law, which we don't, we know that, something as serious as 9/11 could not have gone for 17 years without an investigation. Okay? This is by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who attended four of the finest universities, studied under the two Nobel Peace Prize winners in economics, actually won two Nobel Prize winners, in economics, authored 20 peer-reviewed articles in journals of the scholarship, and published 4 academic press peer-reviewed books, including the Harvard and Oxford universities, and 7 commercial published books. His most recent book is the Neoconservative Threat to the World Order, Washington's Perilous War for Hegemony. Okay? So very simple. We talk about 9/11 here. 9/11, very important. We owe it to the victims. We know massive life was lost. Tens of thousands of lives were changed that day. Why did 9/11 happen? Why did it happen? And what was to be achieved after 9/11 happened? Well, we know that because we're living it today. Many of your liberties have been stripped away through the Patriot Act. They monitor everything you do, your bank statements, your credit card transactions, travel, whatnot, restrictions. And this is all progression of the New World Order plan to destroy the United States and take away your individual civil liberties, okay, that you believe you really actually have. However, the fact remains is that we don't really have any civil liberties in a corporation. Just like I've always told you many times, you cannot vote on what aisle the milk is in at Walmart. Okay, you only shop there, and you shop at the corporation. And the United States corporation was hijacked after the Civil War through the Acts of 1871, and then they took over our monetary system in 1913, and they crowned it a success in 1933. Okay, and that's when they came out with that all Egyptian CNI on your dollar bill, which says Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is Greek for New World Order. And just look it up, folks. All you got to do is look it up, do your research. And then we went into our created Adolf Hitler War, which Adolf Hitler had the actual idea of creating a one-world government, a new world order, and it was a big idea at that time. However, the world was not ready for this new world order because Israel was not established as a state or country again. So this was just a test plan for the new world order. And we can go on and on throughout history, debate history all night long. And I don't want people calling in here tonight talking about robots control us and the Caucasoids, Mongoloids, and all that crap. What I want to do is talk about 9/11 and what 9/11 has done to change our lives here today, and pay respects to the victims by speaking the truth about 9/11 and understanding the times in which you live in today. And why did the World Trade Centers come down? And do you believe that some man in a cave, okay, thousands of miles away, some guy in a cave made NORAD stand down? Do you really believe that some guy with kidney failure managed to jump around from cave to cave to cave and outsmart the most powerful military in the world and hide in Pakistan until we supposedly killed him, okay, during the Obama reign there? Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that? If you do, and do you really believe that our troops are fighting for our freedom today and over in Afghanistan? Do you really believe that? If you do, I would like to hear why you really believe that. If you don't believe it, I would like to hear your reasons also. But if you really believe that, we're over in Afghanistan, standing toe-to-toe against some Taliban people, some people with headscarves on, that ride a magic carpet every day, which I don't agree with their religious beliefs. I've read the Quran, and I understand the Quran, and I get it, and they do hate the Western world. But let me tell you this. If China came over here, or Russia came over here, or Japan, or Ethiopia, or whatever you want to call it, came over to this country and killed your mother, killed your father, killed your children, wouldn't you hate them too? Okay? And think about it. Think about it, because you just got to look. You just got to look at this. Look at it and turn the light bulb on for a second. You have to understand this. But we owe it to the victims from 9/11. We know thousands of people lost their lives. We know tens of thousands of lives were changed, forever changed that day. So of course our hearts go out to those people. But at the same time, this is a wake-up call that we have not taken yet. We haven't taken that call yet because we're brainwashed by Fox and Friends, CNN, these syndicated radio shows that don't get it, that are brainwashing you, because with the sluts on Fox and Friends and CNN with their 40 pounds of makeup on are reading from a teleprompter and convincing you that this is the truth and what's really going on out there in the world. It's not. That is not the truth. That's not what's really going on. And 9/11 did not happen the way they said it happened. Who blew up Building 7, by the way? Did any plane fly into Building 7? How did that happen? You know? I mean, come on. Think of that. That's your first question right there. How did Building 7 fall down? Why did that blow up? Does anyone know? But anyway, all right. I've rambled on here for a little bit, so now I'm going to take callers, and you have to press the number 1 to be on the phone call, and you can talk about anything you want tonight, or you can concentrate on 9/11. And I'm hoping my friend from Florida here presses the number 1. My friend there from outside Daytona Beach, he promised to call in here tonight. He's originally from Wallingford, Connecticut. He's supposed to call in tonight. Don't know where he is yet. But I'm going to take John first and move down the line like we always do, and we'll see where the discussion board gets us here tonight. No guests, open platform, 662. John, you're on the air.
Hey, thank you, man. This is John, Mississippi. Wow, 9/11, it was a tragedy. You know, the problem is it was our government that did it, 100%. Just the fact that they tried to sell us that story that made exactly 0 sense logically was an impossible story to have happened. The way they tried to sell it tells us that they did it, they planned it in advance. It doesn't take much more of that to figure it out. You know, people that are awake can see that. Those buildings were structural steel. Those planes would have, if planes hit it, which is true, there's no telling if planes hit it or not. You know, that's part there. At least the second building, maybe a plane hit it. But the first building, I don't think any plane came anywhere near it. You know, just the story they tried to sell us being so ridiculously impossible should let you know that they were involved. And that means
John, real quick, can I ask you a question? Can I put a seed in your head real quick, John? I forgot to tell you this privately,
yes.
Actually. Why was CNN and Fox and all the news stations have their cameras watching the World Trade Center right before this happened? Why were they watching those buildings?
Ain't that something?
You know what I mean?
Oh, everybody was ready. They had everything ready to go, you know. People keep talking about these dancing Muslims dancing on the roof of that van. Wow, isn't that amazing that thing hit the air immediately into the minds of the American people? Look, there are Muslims dancing on a van celebrating their victory. Come on, man. You don't believe that was real, do you? That was Hollywood. That was 100% Hollywood. You know, that was all made up. You know, I talked to a lot of people from that country, and when 9/11 happened, they were all in mourning. You know, Middle East went into mourning. You know, and what did our TVs tell us? Oh, they're over there celebrating, throwing parties. No, they went into mourning. They did not appreciate what was happening.
Well, the fact of the matter is, most of the people, John, in Afghanistan didn't even have TVs. You got to remember, we're thinking 2019 here, where everyone has a flat screen TV. Back 20 years ago, they didn't have freaking cell phones back then like we do today. They were using those cranberry phones back then, actually. You know, remember the cranberry phone? Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah,
They didn't have that. And then another thing, too, I saw on the fake news today, they were saying that, I was watching a sad story about the victims that were trapped. And they were saying technology was playing a joke on them because all the cell phones were going to satellites. Cell phones don't go to satellites. They go to cell phone towers. You know, come on. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because some of the victims were leaving voicemails to their family, you know, saying, I'm trapped underneath the rubble. Come save me, you know. And this plays on the heartstrings of America. And people say, oh, wow, thank you, George Bush, for everything you did back then, you know, while he was reading a Donald Duck story at a second grade classroom, you know, with that fake evil look he had, like, well, you know what I mean? Come on, man. It's Hollywood, like you said. It's an act, man.
It was all done in advance. I mean, like, what was that? CNN reporting, 20-something minutes early that Building 7 went down. Meanwhile, they're standing with a photograph right there where Building 7 is still up. You know, they make their mistakes. Everybody reporting the same thing so quickly. You really think our news can report as fast? That's one of the simplest ways to tell there's a false flag going on, when it's hitting the news really fast everywhere, because they got advance notice. You know, They already knew at this time of day you're going to start reporting this, you know,
well, this,
the day
John,
before.
But, John, while I got you on the phone, John, this is the diabolical corporation that we live in. This is the diabolical United States government at its best. And here we are having an anniversary of what it did, you know, at its best. And the thing of it is we need to take back we need to restore our Constitution. We need to arrest these people. We need to arrest these legislators, the judiciary branch. We need to arrest these people as citizens. We need to put down our damn dumb phones. We have the law at our fingertips. We have the Constitution, and we could do our own research. We could wake up together and restore our republic here. We could restore what America was originally intended and founded on to be. Now, I know we're going to get callers that say America was founded on hate and they're invaders and blah, 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 and this and that. But we cannot deny the fact that our Constitution was so well written and so well founded and fought for against a tyrannical British Empire that the founders had a great idea. They had this Constitution, but we've lost our way in America. We've lost our way.
Yeah, we definitely lost our way. The Constitution, the Founding Fathers, the Constitution is still the supreme law of the United States of America, okay? And we still have the authority over our government. We have the right to bear arms so that we can stop an oppressive government. It is our duty. It is our right. If you add in the Declaration of Independence, where they describe on what your duties are as an American, to fight against an oppressive government, to stand against them, to correct their course of action, to abolish them if necessary, to reform a new one. I'm not word for word with it, but I do understand the meaning of it all. I have friends that can literally
John, just
recite
real
it
quick,
word
I
for
see
word.
all the callers on the phone line here tonight. Everybody will get a chance to speak unscreened, uncensored. I just want you to know that. I'll take all callers live. Just be patient, folks. Let John give some thoughts here real quick. Go ahead, John.
Well, under the supreme law of the land, the United States of America, we, the people, have the authority to overtake our government. By law, it is our duty to overthrow our government, because our government is acting as a terrorist organization, domestic and worldwide, and that is not acceptable. And people say the Constitution failed us and they don't follow it. No, we, the people of the United States, failed the Constitution. It is still the supreme law of the land, and all we have to do is exercise our duties as proud Americans and take our country back, per the Second Amendment. When they fail on the First Amendment, correcting the course of government's action, it is time to exercise the Second Amendment. The First Amendment has failed. We have no voice in government. They do what they want. They just make it worse for us all the time.
Well, John, I think I've proven that on this show when I've called our so-called elected representatives live. I called Kamala Harris live on this show. I've called Mr. Yang out there in California who's running for president live on this show. I called their office and exposed that. You have no voice anymore. You have no voice. Yeah, you see the little heartstring stories out there on your fake puppet news where, this guy made a difference. This guy, he stood up to City Hall and he made a difference in his district. That's all well and fine, but the fact of the matter is we have no voice. The people out there are not represented by a de jure system anymore. It's a de facto system with its statutory policies. Yeah. We're not under public law anymore. It's all statutory laws that are unconstitutional, that are unconstitutionally regulated. It's just nonsense. And even Donald Trump, I disagree with him. He wants to ban e-cigarettes now. The government has no authority to ban anything. The federal government has no authority to infringe on individual state rights and those states are supposed to be representing the people of those states. Well, they're bad for you. Well, we know they're bad for you, but that's the people's choice. If you want to smoke an e-cigarette and get sick, it's not up to the federal government to tell you what's right or wrong. That's not their job under the Constitution.
Amen on that. You're 100% right. The principle of freedom is to do what you want. If it's going to hurt you, hey, you have the right to do it, as long as you're not hurting others. You know?
That's
do no harm.
That's a key point, John, what you just said. That's a key point, what you just said right there. John, I'm going to open up the phone line. Stay on there. We got plenty of show left here. I want people to get a voice here. 984, go ahead. You're live, 984, and I'll move up the line here. 984, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right.
First of all, I'm not an American. I'm from Jamaica, but I've lived here for 40 years. My mom came here in 68, and then she brought me over here. It's almost 50 years now that I'm here. And I have a slightly different perspective than you gentlemen, because I don't think so much that it's the Constitution in the United States. I think it's worldwide. And I'm not so sure we can do anything about it anymore, because we have a police state now. If you look in every country, including Jamaica, the one I came from, all the countries in the world, all these guys are wearing the same uniforms. They have the same military type stuff, and they've got these drones and everything now. And I'm not so sure when, so say, for example, the right to bear arms. The right to bear arms should be our right. We should be able to have a gun in our house in case somebody comes and tries to kill my grandchildren. I should be able to have a gun. So I can protect my grandchildren from the wickedness that has been bred into some people. In Jamaica, and I'm talking about this because I'm very familiar with this, because I have friends who still, and family who still live there. It is flooded with guns. Jamaica doesn't have any gun factories. We have customs, and actually Homeland Security.
So that's a great point you just brought up, ma'am. Jamaica doesn't have any gun factories, so how are the guns getting there? How are they getting there?
Exactly. And I don't know how they're getting there, but it just seems to me that, for example, when Homeland Security came into being after 9/11, unbeknownst to a lot of Americans, the American government gave money to every country in the world so that they could begin a Homeland Security. It still feeds Homeland Security today and pays for it in these countries. I don't know what they're hiding, and I don't know what they're trying to accomplish, because I'm not I don't know. But I do know that this is more massive than just America. So you take, for example, England. Now, you notice that the new president and Barack Obama, where I'm black. Well, I'm mixed with different things, but my skin color is black. When I saw Barack Obama become president, a lot of black people don't talk to me to this day, because I said that there is no way that 13% of black people, that's what's in the United States, 13%. How can 13% vote somebody in? 13% cannot vote in somebody. But anyway, so Barack Obama is related to the Queen. George Bush and Barack Obama are related. This new president, he's been to England just the other day. What is that old woman talking to him about? What are they doing? At the same time that they're having all this crisis all over, Britain now, which remember, Britain is an old colony. Britain is what
Well, hang
America
on. Now, ma'am, real quick, the Jamaica Observer reported on this, actually. The Jamaica Observer from Jamaica, actually. I don't know if you know about the Jamaica Observer.
I do.
However, Jamaica, it says the 17 divisions of the St. James Municipal Corporation last month, which is part of the National PNP, counselor for the Granville Division. Okay, what it is that, what did I just say? Municipal, and this is how we get back to understanding about the corporations. Jamaica has been incorporated into the New World Order, and that's why they're shipping these guns and they're shipping these guns into Jamaica, and Jamaica, of course, is shipping the drugs into America through secret black ops operations that the United States government is conducting. And the United States government, the corporation, is doing this through other central bankers and the Federal Reserve banking cartel to create division amongst the people, to kill innocent Jamaicans out there, and Haitians, and people from Honduras and Nicaragua and Venezuela and Ethiopia, and that's what they're doing. And this is why I talk about the New World Order a lot. These people, these bankers out there that are controlling and pulling the strings of these countries, because look, we can't deny now that Jamaica elects or selects corrupt people, because they'll take the money. Hey, be quiet. I'll take $10 million to do this, you know?
Exactly. Right now, there's this huge thing going on in Jamaica. The one place we get water from, which is Cockpit Country. If you look it up, Cockpit Country is up in the mountains, and it's our water source. Now, Jamaica, the corporation, has sold some of Cockpit Country, which they're not legally supposed to be able to do, because that's supposed to be the Maroons, the original people of the country, slaves and the Tonto Indians, went up there after they fought for slavery. Now, that's being sold to mine aluminum. Now, a lot of people going to laugh when I say this, but aluminum and bauxite, even though we use it every day, even in our aluminum foil and everything, is carcinogenic. And they're getting ready to mine and completely disrupt the one water source that this island has. Bahamas just got hit by a hurricane. People laugh when I tell them about HARP, but the original people, the original people, are you familiar with the original people and original inhabitants of Jamaica, the Arawaks, also called the Tianos? Yes, and they originated from South America, actually, over 2,500 years ago. So you're familiar with that, correct? Yes. So
well, I'm glad you know your history then. That's good, because a lot of people probably don't know about this, and Americans are sure as hell not taught about this.
Well, but and you make a great point with that. And I'm going to go after I say this. But that's one of the reasons that schooling has degraded. And I'm going to tell you, when I came here, I was like 15. I went to high school here. The schools were perfect. They actually taught. Now, I look at my grandchildren. I have two grandchildren, an 8 and a 4 and a 6-year-old little girl and a 17-year-old grandson, and he's mixed, or black. And my son married a white lady. But anyway, these kids, whether they're black, white, brown, it don't matter. They're not teaching them. They teach them nothing. They give them no, like you're talking about the Constitution. If the Constitution is such an important factor to the United States, why are children in the United States not taught about the Constitution?
Can I
Well,
get back to
that's
here
a
again?
great point. Go ahead, John. You want to answer that question, John, and then we'll move on to other callers. I mean, I'll leave the lady on the line here, but I've got other people here also that want to join in the conversation. But John, go ahead if you want to converse with this female here on the line, please.
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
We got approximately 328,000 Americans in the United States right now. We have over
328 million, you mean?
Huh?
Yeah,
328 million.
You said 328,000. You mean 328 million?
Yeah, million. Yes, thank you. Now, we've got approximately between 350 million to 400 million guns in the hands of the civilian population right now, too. See, now that gives us power over our police state, we the people, because for every cop out there, there are thousands of citizens. So you see, she said about the police state earlier, well, how are we going to do something with this police state? Because if the people exercise the Constitution and the Second Amendment for what it was intended, and it was not intended for home defense of a burglar, it was intended to control the government. So the people would never have to live under an oppressive government again. Okay? This is how we formed our government. And if they taught this to the children in the schools today and you're teaching it, the government would have never got to where it is today. So they had to dumb down the population, dumb down the school, the kids in the school, generation by generation, a little bit more every time. When I was in school, they switched the history books out in the middle of me learning about the Constitution. Okay? I remember that. I remember them switching out the books and the teachings. Okay? And they stopped teaching it. But the Constitution, that's why I was mentioning the other day to read the Constitution and understand what it is. Especially once you've read the Bill of Rights and you understand that, and then you read the Constitution afterwards, because the two documents go hand in hand. The Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence.
And just for the record out there, folks, I really can't see the chat room. Just for the record, I really can't see the chat room, folks, tonight. I don't know what happened. I sent a tweet out to Vice President Mr. Pence there, and all of a sudden my call screen went blank, and then it got reinstated. So it could be some CIA crap or FBI crap. So I don't really see my chat room. I only see a couple people in my chat room, but I think there's dozens in there, actually. So don't run away, callers, just because, we're here to stand up and fight for the Constitution here tonight. And expose the United States corporation and restore our republic and expose the New World Order and talk about 9/11 here tonight and why 9/11 happened and what was the purpose of 9/11 and how your life has changed since 9/11. Go ahead, John, and then I'll move on to the next caller. Go ahead.
Back to the police state. The police state is forbidden by the Constitution to have a standing army in this country. Not the military army that defends this country. That is not forbidden. What it was forbidden was the police standing here as a military force in this country. So when you say the police have become a militarized force, a police state, we've become a police state, which we have, but we have power.
Well, she said also, she made an interesting point, John. She also brought up in Jamaica, they're wearing the same uniforms as they do here in America, technically. She made up an interesting point. Isn't that interesting that all these police around the world are dressing up the same way? I mean, that's kind of strange, I think. Yeah, I think that's kind of strange, actually. Why are they taking the same formula?
Yeah, no, I noticed that too.
Yeah. Well, let's take some other callers here and see what they want to contribute here to the conversation. I see Mandela Khan, you're next after 323. Go ahead. Go ahead, 323. You've been waiting the longest. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Good evening. This is Shabaka Sankara, the executive producer and the host of Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. First place, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear about something. There was an organization in the city less than 25 miles from me, currently where I'm at right now, that tried to exercise their Second Amendment constitutional right, and they were labeled as terrorists. Now, as far as the United States of America being a corporation, yes, it is. You got corporate greed. You got a bunch of lying-ass motherfuckers up here. 9/11 was definitely a set stage situation to erode more of your civil rights that you never had in the first fucking place, number one. Now,
you got that right.
and as you so well pointed out, that CNN and Fox News, you know, they pissing on our heads, telling us it's rain. They are shitting on us, telling us that it's snow. So as it is, you got this corporate greed, number one, then you got this military greed, number two, because all these goddamn police agencies dress up the same fucking way and drive the same goddamn cars. Seriously. I mean, look at them. The SUV, right? I see the California Highway Patrol having the same cars. The Oakland Police Department has the same car. As the NYPD has the same car. As the Chicago PD has the same car. And then what you do is you got a bunch of diabolical, selfish, corporate, greedy motherfuckers over here doing this. Now, we have to understand something right here. First of all, the U.S. Constitution is one of the biggest hypocritical documents written in the history of mankind. Look at how they treat black people here. And I also ask the same question. When did we, black folks, those of African descent who was brought here on these ships that landed in such places like New Orleans, Louisiana, Charleston, South Carolina, Annapolis, Maryland, and what have you, when did we petition this government to be citizens? We never did. And it just is because we are still viewed as property. Now, getting to the corporate greed. 9/11, 2001. Now, in the last 18 years, look at how all this social media shit has flourished. I mean, flourished big. It's because you got guys, you know, making $11 trillion a damn year, not paying no fucking taxes on it. You go to San Francisco, right across the street from Twitter, people are living in tents in the old United Nations plaza over there, pissing and shit on the goddamn street. It downright stinks. You got major health outbreaks coming on. So what you have right here is genocide. Also,
So, Mr. Shabaka, what's the solution? What is the solution, you think, here, as the program is called Understanding the Times in which we live in today? What's the solution? Yes. What do you think we should do as a people out here in society today, in our society, whether black, white, whatever? What is the solution? How do we move forward here and abolish the current system that we have?
Okay, what it is first of all, man, it's your natural right, your human right, and your biological right to defend yourself. That's a universal law and principle. You do not have to teach a dog or a cat to protect its young. You do not have to teach a cockroach to protect its young. But when it comes down to this dumbing down effect, where this power structure comes up, it gives us this illusion of inclusion, which in reality is tyrannical, it's diabolical, it's downright hideous. And yes, you are right. The Federal Reserve does have a lot of power on it. But at the same fucking token, and I'm just talking about as far as my people is concerned, is that with the buying power that we have, or how we spend our money up out of the community and not on ourselves, we have enough right there to start implementing methods, you know, to protect and defend ourselves. And not only that, for our children as well, too. Is because it's very, very interesting that when I look over here in the Bay Area, particularly when I see the majority of homeless people here in Oakland, California, are black men standing on the side of the goddamn freeway holding up a fucking sign talking about how I work for food. But every other motherfucker that I see is coming here on riding that damn bike, nice suits, nice money, cell phones, laptops, you know, and all that shit. And they get the bases of the silicon and the bauxite and the cobalt that they use to build these goddamn things from the continent of Africa. So I definitely agree with Mr. Mandela Khan, you know, on that premise right there, is because he and I have discussed this before. We've also had some off-air conversations as well, too. So what it is that we got to sit up here and just simply do for self, you see, because we can't do nothing for nobody else until we do for ourselves. And look at the Hollywood industry of how it depicts the image of the black male being dumbfounded, calling himself the NGR and all this old stupid shit. You got this rap music coming out here with its misogynistical, self-loathing, self-hatred type of shit. But I don't hear no other groups of people up there making rap records degrading themselves, such as what Dave Chappelle said. That made a lot of sense because I saw one of his stand-up skits where he says that he was in Hollywood and they don't want him to use the term FAG, but however, they would be more than happy for him to use the term nigga. And I agree with him on that because, see, I'm not nobody's nigga. You see what I mean? So once again, we have to look at the mindset on that. Now, this also, too, fuels the greed. It's because don't nothing make money like entertainment does and social media at this time. Now, 9/11 was a sham. It was to put more control on people, and I believe that when they had signed the damn Patriot Act, none of the fucking politicians even read the damn thing. They just went on there and signed it because even John Conyers had said it himself. Well, if we was to sit there and read every stipulation in this new bill and all that, do you know how long it would take for us to pass laws? You see what I'm saying? That's that dumbing down shit. And then the Congresswoman, I believe, Barbara Lee, I believe she was the only one that voted against giving Bush or the chief executive or whoever all that absolute power, such as detaining people indefinitely, such as taking them to trial, without due process, disarming the people.
Well, hang on,
Shabaka,
I mean? That's my point that I'm trying to make is that we don't have a constitution anymore. The United States is incorporated through statutory law, and public policy. And then these politicians don't have to answer to you because it's just like I said earlier, sir, is that when you go to Walmart, you don't vote on what aisle the milk is in. They don't care about you. You only shop there. And if you're stupid enough to shop there, shame on you. So therefore, we have our God-given natural right to take back what belongs to us as a people. Am I correct?
Okay, you're talking in regard to the Second Amendment. Yes, you say it's because supposedly the Second Amendment was supposed to back the First Amendment. But they're very, very selective about which groups who they give these rights to, such as the police departments in this nation go out here and commit.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you 100%. Look at Walmart. You can no longer open carry at Walmart unless you're a police officer, right? You're absolutely right. Selective. They're selective, right?
Yeah. So the deck is already stacked against you right there. Now, as far as some of these crazy-ass motherfuckers going out here shooting up Walmart, shooting people, at random like they did in Las Vegas, I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts had the people been allowed to return fire on these motherfuckers, not more than one or two people at the most would have died. Him making his first
Well,
move
you're
and
absolutely
him
right,
the next
sir.
motherfucker
You're absolutely right. If you walked into a Walmart and you saw every customer there open carrying, even if a guy was stupid enough and crazy enough to hurt innocent men, women, and children, black or white, Chinese, white, red, brown, whatever you are, he wouldn't have got more than 2 shots off because we as responsible people, and as we should be, would have put that son of a bitch down where he belonged, right?
Oh, yeah, I agree with you on that. But, however, it is very, very interesting is that when you look at these mass shooters at these Walmarts, the majority of them are white male terrorists. And I even think that even CNN, one of their reporters, I'm not going to call his name, and said, yeah, your main terrorist is the white male in America. Now, let's look at that. Now, let's look at the history of that. Raping, slave trading, pedophiles, motherfuckers in the Ku Klux Klan, the goddamn police departments are influenced by them, infiltrated by them. The FBI says, yeah, they've been infiltrating law enforcement for the last 25 years. But what the fuck are they doing about it? Besides nothing. And if they are doing something, please enlighten me. You know what I mean? Because I get tired every goddamn time that I see a police car. I got to worry about getting my fucking brains blowed out. You see what I mean? On some bullshit.
Can I say something?
Well, you fit. Yeah, you fit the description, this, that, there, the other. Motherfucker, I'm damn near 60 years old. I'm old and tired, and every goddamn thing on my body hurts. So how in the fuck am I going to go out here, man, and commit some acts of terrorism with my old broke-down ass? I mean, really. See,
well, hang on a second here. One thing I got to disagree with you on, actually, the public's perception, see, you're doing the general perception. This is what the corporate media is doing. You're saying they're mostly white people. Actually, it's the same amount of numbers that are killing each other in random numbers. Just look at the city of Chicago. Most of it's black-on-black crime. That you know.
Sir,
now, I'm not saying that the people out there are more savagery than what these white sickos are doing. But what you're doing is I'm disagreeing with you now to bring up a conversation here and have an intellectual conversation about this.
Absolutely.
You know,
and I got something for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well. And the fact of the matter is, and the consensus is, hang on now, is that why are they not calling these shooters in Chicago, these gang, which are mainly what society likes to deem called black males, that are killing each other in mass shootings? Why is the society calling them terrorists also and mass shooters? I mean, if a Crip member drives by and shoots a 9-year-old black girl, why isn't that on the corporate news media station also? Why not?
Okay, because first of all, what you're describing right there, sir, is what they call internalized hatred. Okay, like what you had on the plantation system. It's because the black male is always conditioned, not to look white folks in the eye, to scratch his ass, yassa boss, everything, is funny. He's supposed to be skinning and grinning. So what happens is as this rage builds up, okay, he internalizes hatred not only on himself, but also too on his fellow black brethren. You see, he was conditioned this way because we've been on that plantation system.
Hang on now. No one's conditioned to kill a 9-year-old little girl in a drive-by shooting. No one's conditioned that way. No one. That's wrong. Wrong is wrong. Right is right. If you're fighting over now whether or not the drugs are shipped into the country and they're conditioning people to have greed, just like the corporations which are controlled by white people. Okay, I'll agree with you there. But no one killing another innocent human being, no matter of their skin color, is wrong. Simple as that. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a mass shooting or a single shooting, killing an innocent child based upon a turf war, saying this is my corner and I'm going to kill you, which happens in a lot of inner cities because of greed, like you mentioned, which is greed, chasing those Federal Reserve notes, is wrong. So how do we change that as a society? What do we do?
Oh, okay. Well, I've said on my podcast plenty of times, this is why it's for my people to homeschool their youth, as opposed to black youth going to these goddamn public indoctrination centers, where the only thing that they're being groomed to do is join gangs, go to detention, be told what to do. The quality of the education is fucked up. This is why we need to emphasize for ourselves more homeschooling. And then there was a couple of brothers, I believe, down there out of New Orleans, Louisiana, that started black homeschooling and finding out that a lot of these children
and Shabaka, you addressed this on your show, actually, but why is a mass shooting only considered 4 or more? I consider one person a mass shooting. I mean, it's common sense. Killing an innocent life is wrong.
Okay, well, like I said, you will get no arguments from me on that. But what I'm just looking at is the systemic racism and the systemic conditioning of this in this, particularly when it comes to black males on black males crime. This is what I mean by the internalized hatred. Yes, it is because the rage that they would have for the oppressor, he knows what will happen to him if he takes it out on the oppressor. But he will take it out on himself. You see what I mean? Now, let's look at Christopher Dorner down in the city of Los Angeles. You remember Christopher Dorner, the former Navy SEAL?
Yeah, hang on, John. Hang on, John. John wants to comment on what you're saying, so go ahead and finish up, Shabaka. Go ahead.
Let it. Yes, sir. Okay, I was just saying this with Christopher Dorner when he wrote his manifesto. He was talking about the corruption of the murderous organization called the Los Angeles Police Department. You know the party, the ones that made Rodney King famous. You see what I mean? So therefore, he had laid down, with him being a Navy SEAL, with him being knowledgeable of military tactics, and then from what I understand, the LAPD goes after military veterans to be on their police force anyway, particularly war veterans. So that's what they had with Dorner. Dorner said that he had reported misconduct, okay? The LAPD is notorious for its cover-ups. The LAPD is notorious for intimidating people and what have you. You go up there, write up one of the officers. Next thing you know, they step into you, say, well, hey, we just found this on you right here on this. You're facing 15, 25 years in the California state pen. You care to recant your story? Oh, yeah, that's very common. Now, what you got right there is terrorism. You see what I'm saying? That there is not a police agency doing that. That is a terrorist organization doing that, hiding behind badges. Now, address that issue.
Okay.
Okay. All right. John wants to comment real quick, and then I'm going to bring Mandela Khan on. Go ahead, John, because we got a bunch of callers here. Go ahead, John.
Okay. I want to address two issues you got there. You worried about your people. You know, unless all us people united stand together, we cannot stand up against this police state, these terrorists, okay, that are ruling by force, the entire police force, because all police are is domestic terrorists by their job description, okay? The job they are ordered to do is domestic terrorism, okay? The laws and the statutes that they enforce are domestic terrorism. And we can't stand against them until we all stand together. So as long as you want to promote keeping your people separate from the rest of us, so you're not going to do nothing until your people get what they want first. You're just promoting the terrorist organization to stay in power. That's the first thing I want to say to you, okay?
Man. How much dope you been smoking today, man?
That's the
all right, you guys disagree.
How they got us. And as long as you push your division, we will stay divided. We will stay on our knees. We have to unite as a people, the free people of this country, all of us. Forget your goddamn color. Forget where you were born. Forget where your grandmammy was born. We are all people of the United States. We need to stand together.
No.
You can have
all right. Let me bring Mandela Khan on here, who's been waiting a long time. Let me bring Mandela Khan on, who's been waiting patiently.
Okay, but
let me bring Mandela Khan on real quick. All right, Mandela Khan, go ahead. You're unmuted. And then we'll move down the line. Go ahead.
Everyone has spoken on behalf of the Masonic Order of the Patriarch. I want you to take a deep breath, lower your stress level, and listen to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, based on the Creator. Your white power, white nationalism can't keep the people in slavery, oppression, and exploitation worldwide, and your nationalism under black power will never free the people. It's wrong power versus right power. And I'm an international lawyer on behalf of the people of the three laws that mean something to everybody. That's why the Ethiopian Empire in Class Action 567, it is the right and the duty of the people to install, overturn, not overthrow. That's illegal. And there's only three laws on the planet that cover live and let live in one love. That's the common law court, not the Constitution, Declaration, Independence, the Bill of Rights, or the Bible. The international law, that will prove it based on 911. International law, got to be respected by everyone on the planet. And then there's bingo, powerball, that's right. That's natural law, live and let live in one love. Now, everything of 911 is not new because it was staged, activated, orchestrated, and presented, and it's always copied so you can see what's happening, so you can feed into your white or black nationalist jingoism as you are all in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. Some of you are security guards, or some of you are cops in the Blue Cross Klan. Some of you are state-sponsored terrorists based on the legislature. It is the legislature that authorizes the police forces to do what they do. It is the same legislature that authorizes this GI Bill and your $10,000 for college, where You say, well, look, Mandela, we're going all over the world killing on behalf of terrorism and drugs so that you can be free. What a goddamn joke. Now, let me bring it back to where we are right now. Because if you look at y'all say, well, we love the Constitution, isn't it ironic, under the war on drugs and the war on terrorism, we don't have Al Capone and John Gotti and the Cosa Nostra or the French.
Mandela, I'm going to let you carry on. I got to mute my mic here real quick, okay? I'll let you carry on for a couple minutes. I got to mute my mic real quick. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to let you know.
We don't have the so-called La Cosa Nostra, the French connection, you know, the real drug dealers, because in the African and the black and Latino community in this country, we didn't see no crack or cocaine before the Vietnam War. And where your nationalism, white and black, and your jingoism is wrong is because many of y'all said, well, we lost 3,000 people in 911. We lost 50,000 people in Vietnam. We lost such people in the war in Korea. But you don't put on the table in your selective amnesia how many people you slaughtered all over the planet to keep the American people in the guise of we need the government and the police and the army to protect us, when the whole corporation is causing genocide, war crimes, cruel and unusual punishment, and specific exact crimes against women and children, where you can see it right now today, from Maine to Florida, Washington State to California, the UK to the University of Kentucky, the Congo to the Bongo, that state-sponsored terrorism started in the beginning of the illegal alien European invaders trespassing on the Holy Lands. And today, since 9/11, you've never seen a dictator, a warlock, a warlord, or a drug dealer or a cartel in Europe. All of you Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, you've been going since Hitler died. You've been jumping out on the greatest international war crime against the whole melanated community under the guise of the war on drugs and the war on terrorism that don't have no ending. As long as the war on drugs and the war on terrorism is a precursor to see who's going to be right, you can clearly see that all you so-called white people and all you so-called black people, is there not a warlock or a drug dealer in England, France, or Germany? There's not a terrorist in England, France, or Germany? No. You clearly see that you done went through all of the so-called Arab world. You done went to South and Central America, to Haiti, Bolivia, Peru.
Well, hang on, Mandela, let me interject here. According to history from what I read, and I don't get it from Google, more people were slaughtered in one period of time throughout history was in Rwanda, actually. 100 days of slaughter, actually.
Okay,
in 1994.
I'm glad you did that.
People were slaughtered in Rwanda.
I'm glad you did that, John.
13 million.
No, hang on.
Hold on. Hold on, Shabaka. Listen.
Oh, so you're not going to listen to true history.
Listen, hold on for a minute. Hey, John.
The Hutus, more people were slaughtered.
Joe, John, and Shabaka. I was on this phone for... Joe, John, and Shabaka, I've been on this phone for an hour listening to y'all's bullshit under the Masonic Order of the Patriarch. Joe,
but you made a claim that the United States has murdered more people.
Joe,
that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to refute that. That's not true.
Here's where I got you. You can't refute it. Because if me as African people, which you as the illegal alien invaders, the founding fathers, you say it's illegal for me to have an aircraft carrier, a stealth bomber, satellite.
Right.
You know,
I never said that. I never said that.
Hold on, Joe. Doing 911. The reason why NORAD, the FBI, the CIA, they are all guilty because they got hyperbolic listening devices where they can hear a camel fart in Afghanistan. You understand me? And if they've been watching Raheem, Jose, Jumbo, and Leah, and they always know how to come get us.
I agree with you about the United States corporation. I agree with you. They have illegally invaded many sovereign countries. I'm not disputing that.
Hey, Joe, I'm not trying to get you to agree or disagree. I'm trying to enter into international public record the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Because you are in a jingoistic state, so is Shabaka, because y'all think America, where 1% of black people live in this country, 99% of so-called black people do not live in the United States of America, and there's not a black or white person who honors the Constitution, the sovereignty and integrity.
Well,
and dignity
then we need to fight for that 1%. Then don't we need to fight for that 1%? That's what the Constitution says.
What we need to do is realize that we started this together. When y'all didn't break against England, and that lady from Jamaica, she's a part of the nation.
And we did, and you're right. And what about the kings of Africa and the queens of Africa? Do they get held accountable for selling their own people also?
Okay, because of capitalism based on imperialism.
No, that's not a lie. That's true history.
I'm don't do that motherfucking shit. Listen to me. Don't do this shit. Well, I'm telling you, capitalism based on imperialism, with the World Bank, the IMF, the ignorant motherfuckers, and your so-called Federal Reserve, that's a white power concoction. And we don't pay no money. We don't make no goddamn aircraft carriers, stealth bombers. Ain't no name of Seneca or Barack Obama or Nelson Mandela or Mandela Khan is Browning, Smith & Wesson, Luger, and Colt 45 and all that shit. I'm telling you that you and your people produce and manufacture and distribute.
What do you mean my people? What do you mean my people? What do you mean by my people? Who are my people?
Here's what I mean. Here's what I mean. Here's what I mean. Do you know of anybody, Joe? Do you know of anybody, Joe? You keep talking about what's happening now, Ethiopia and then Rwanda. Do you know of any African or black person that produces nuclear weapons, stealth bombers, submarines, and aircraft carriers? No, we don't do it. You know why? You know why?
China has stealth bombers. What do we do about them?
I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you that.
Carriers.
I said
what do we do about
African
them?
people. Listen, don't play with me, man. Here's what the deal is. Y'all proliferate all your weapons. All the weapons, you trade them for drugs. The pharmaceuticals, the cartel, the international cabal, they put them...
Well, last time I checked, China was shipping fentanyl into this country, so I don't know what you're talking about there.
They put them outdated weapons in Nicaragua, the Tigers. They put them outdated weapons with Boko Haram, the Maya Miller, and the fucking militia in America.
Yeah, but the United States is not the only country, Mandela Khan, in this world trade industry of human life. They're not the only country that partakes in the New World Order. In the warfare, the victor goes to spoil. All the European countries submitted to your asses when you got through a atomic bomb. They killed thousands and thousands of people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, instead of dropping one in 283,000 to be exact. Yes, I agree. And Hitler killed over. And Hitler was responsible for, and Mao was responsible for 30 million people.
It don't matter.
What do we do about
the problem
that? We can
with
argue all day long about
history. If we as African people want to get in a shootout to shoot white people out of our life, we don't have the spare parts. We don't have the reinforcements. Right. We don't have the logistics to do so. You understand? Look, I watch videos of little white girls and boys. They motherfuckers is riding with shit, and they got 100 motherfucking rounds a minute coming out. If Rocky and Jose Jumbo and Leah and the Black Panthers and the new Black Panthers, old Black Panthers, they got some fucking AR-15 and some fucking Glocks. And the fucking
and they got the and actually the number one weapon of choice in Africa is the AK-47, and that came from Russia. Okay, that came from Russia, actually.
Okay,
so
now I'll tell you what. Do we have any surface-to-air missiles? Do we have anything to shoot them fucking Black Hawk helicopters out the motherfucking sky? Do we have anything to
Actually, they do. Believe it or not, Africa does. But it was shipped in from China and Russia, actually. So,
no.
But look, we can argue about weapons of war, Mandela Khan. What my point is, how do we understand the times in which you live in today? We can argue all day long about Egyptian pharaohs.
Here's how we do it. There's not a woman on the planet that recognizes a deity other than a he. That's an unforgivable sin.
There's not a man on the planet that recognizes the woman as a deity. So now we're in a major conflict again.
That's not
true. Who wins, Mandela Khan? What you think the women of the world are gonna take over the man? I mean, here we are back in a civil war again.
No.
So your solution
That's your
is not
just
working.
like you said, that if black people get their power back, get their freedom back, then we're going to rape y'all and fuck y'all up like you did us.
Your freedom. You got your freedom in America. You have your freedom.
You are lying bastard.
Okay, you got your freedom.
This is why, see, you trying to start a goddamn riot. Here's why I don't fuck with y'all religious motherfuckers.
Have their freedom. We're slaves.
I ain't talking about no black versus white. I'm talking about wrong versus right.
The Federal Reserve banking cartel. Mandela Khan, we got a bunch of other people on the line.
Listen, hey Joe, let me finish up with 30 seconds and with no unhindered.
All right, okay.
Without
go
slavery,
ahead.
That capitalism based on imperialism, white power would not have no world economy. When you said you came to the new world, there was no fucking new world. When you say we discovered something, didn't discover a goddamn thing. I asked y'all last week.
Okay.
What did the people find
so you're talking about
when they found it here?
Okay, that's
you know
fine.
What, you, John, and 336, Dr. Leroy, you all went to the founder. I said, what you find? I'm going to tell you what you found. You found a loving, caring, sharing people that shared their existence with you. And look at what the fuck you did. Look at what the fuck you did.
All right, Mandela Khan. All right, Mandela Khan. I got a host of other callers here. Let's give everyone a voice here also. 914. Go ahead. 914, then 925. Go ahead. 914.
Okay, thank you, Mandela Khan, for inviting me on here because this show is so lit right now.
Absolutely.
My name is Justina. I homeschool my son, so I don't feed into the BS. But one of my solutions for taking our power back would just be taking all our damn money out these banks, taking all our kids out these schools, and just doing an American strike for like 30 days.
Right.
Shut them down.
Okay, but you don't have, ma'am, not to interrupt you, I'll give you plenty of time to speak. Hang on, ma'am. You have no money. It's fake money. It's Federal Reserve notes, so you really don't have any money. So you can't take it out of the bank.
If everybody just said I'm whatever savings or whatever, if everybody there was a report out that said if everybody took $1 out, I've tried to take $1 out of the bank at the same time, the banks would not be able to cover it. Right? So we did that.
All right,
and then
so you're proposing this. So hang on, you're proposing. We tried this in 2000. Ma'am, this is how I have been fighting against the Federal Reserve. I've been with the movements here. We tried this, a one-day strike, April 15th, which is Theft Day. We call it Tax Day in America. I call it Theft Day, where we all did not go to work on one day. Okay, and we didn't spend any of our Federal Reserve notes on one day, April 15th. You know where that got us? Yes, it got us a couple 100,000 people around the country, but it didn't shut down the criminals on Wall Street. It didn't. But I agree with you. You're right. We need more people to participate.
It was more people for more days, and not just that. Like, we're not sending our kids to these corrupt schools. Like, we're actually taking the time and the power back that we're saying that we're not getting by saying we will self-educate ourselves, so we will make the right decisions. We will educate our children because you're not educating them right, and we're not going to put our monies back into these banks until we get the order that we deserve and that we have the right to.
Right.
So it's not about black, white, because we're all killing each other at the end of the day. We're scared of the police, we're scared of white people, and white people are scared of black people. So there's nobody's winning. And we're not going to win until we all stand together. And we all got scared once our leaders got killed, like Martin Luther King, and our strong black leaders like Malcolm X and Fred Hampton, and all these Black Panther people who did carry guns and didn't give a damn what the government said because they had the right self-education to walk around and they knew their constitutional rights. And we are lacking the knowledge that we need to walk around with the balls that we have as Americans. But everybody wants to walk around like they have a fucking head up somebody's ass because they're trying to please somebody and don't want to say what the hell needs to be said.
Ma'am, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And it's good to listen to a female's voice. And I have another female on the line also. I'll give you another minute or two if you want to talk, because I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just saying that I'm glad you called in. And it's good to hear a female's voice here on the podcast. So I'll give you a couple minutes, and then I've got another female here who wants to speak also. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's up to us. We have to stop blaming sides and each other, because black people sit here and talk about Wakanda, but we can have that real Wakanda power if we all stop sitting here pointing the fucking finger and say, guess what, we're building Black Wall Street because it's already been done before. We don't need a fucking roadmap because we're the ones that designed the roadmap in the first place.
Right.
So that's it on my end. You can move on.
All right,
okay,
thank you, ma'am. I won't hang up on you. Hang on, I won't hang up on you, but I got another female here on the line. I believe that I got to scroll up here. I've got so many people here on the phone line, and that's great, but it's good to hear the female voice out there calling in. Here we go. There she is, 925. Go ahead.
Greetings, Joe, and all that are listening, and I just want to say, I hope you can hear me okay. Stop barking at me. I hope you can hear me just fine. I'm walking. But I'm not a female. Stop calling me a female. And I wish you would just address the women that come on and speak.
Oh, wait, women. I thought you said you didn't like me calling you a woman. I didn't know.
I did not say that. I'm not even going to have that debate with you today. I just wanted to go ahead and say that I do agree with the last woman who spoke and the things that she spoke on. As far as she speaks a lot to the concept of the reprogramming system, and we being the reprogramming system in our own homes, because that's where it starts. We do have to teach the Constitution, and this is a part of the reprogramming system, because this is what they took away from us, and this is what we need to know in order to get things right. And the first woman that spoke from Jamaica, how she was mentioning about the police, because everything is becoming militarized now and overtaken by the government, the federal government. And so the miseducation is purpose to dumb down the population of the generations to come. Those that have passed and those that are still to come, their whole agenda is genocide, and it's to bankrupt us of the land resources and the people, to bankrupt the people with labor and taxes. And this is what you always speak to, you know, the federal banking cartel and the fact that we're not even dealing with real money. So when we just get that concept, you know, across to the people, and people begin to understand that, we can begin to operate in our true capacity. And so we are a nation dispersed of free people. We're free thinkers. We exist in a free dome. That's a free mind. And so if we begin to recognize this as a major factor, we'll begin to see ourselves and stand together as this nation of free people. So the solution as a people is that we must be the change while nation building. So in the process of nation building,
I agree with you. And you know what, Archiveda, you know what I always say is this. We can all disagree on a lot of things. Archiveda, I know you're walking right now. I can hear the background noise in the background, but I think you and I are on the same page, and a lot of the other callers also, especially the women out there, okay? There's one thing that we have to do, and I think Shabaka is on the same page also, is that we can all disagree on a lot of things. All of us are not going to agree 100%.
No,
well,
not,
hang on. Let me finish. Hang on. Let me finish. Let me finish my point 100%. Here, and then I'll bring it. Hang on. Let me finish my point. We need to focus on our bartering system, which is fake. That's how they control us. That's how they control us. Through the bartering system, through whether it's through entertainment, which is bought and paid for by the Federal Reserve and central banks, whether it's through the gladiator games, because we're all out there to get that money, right? We're all out there to get that money. That's what makes us happy, and we're distracted from what's really important to us in everyday lives, which is freedom. We all want individual freedom. Go ahead, Archibald. Go ahead. Finish your point. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is, so in wanting individual freedom, we must want the same thing for everyone else around us, because just like Mandela Khan says all the time, no one's right until we all get right. So we're all wrong. So until we get right. So we must first know that the change that we need to be is within ourselves first, while we are nation building, while working together. And we have to first correct our status, declare and proclaim our proper persona using the same system the government uses to establish a state and trust. And this is a reprogramming system. But before we can get to the reprogram, we got to reprogram first. And that's through the transformation, the renewal of the mind with applied knowledge of politics, civics, economics, and basic life skills and more. So this education is being offered through the Black Gold Nation. I am an ambassador of the Black Gold Nation. And for more information on that, you can go to www.blackgoldnation.com to learn more and get more involved. So as we rise as a republic, we the people, we become Class Action 567. We talk about Class Action 567, but people are like, what's that? I don't understand what that is. Well, until we get through the process of understanding the deprogram and the reprogram, this is all what Class Action 567 is. It is us as a people coming into knowledge, and this is a total recall of the Ethiopian matriarch, and this is how we get free. So we all know that no movement moves without the people. So we must begin to use our social media to organize and unify groups and organizations to come together on one accord in unity and in harmony, because we are a tribe of many tribes and we must join forces. We can't do this alone. One organization and their set of beliefs against another organization and their set of beliefs is always going to be a debate. It's always going to be confusion.
There's always going to be a debate.
And there's always going to be a reason
you're
to
absolutely
argue.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. You're absolutely correct. There's always going to be a debate, and that's why we must focus first on our bartering system. Now, John was my original guest. I got Shabaka, I think, still on the phone line here. He may want to comment on all the other callers.
I got one more thing to say.
All right. Well, okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the extra time that you're giving me to say this. But we must also realize that we are at spiritual, psychological, and biological warfare. And this is a part of the deprogramming, to understand this and to begin to pull ourselves out of these systems of warfare and become and gain the ability to protect ourselves with absolute and specific techniques. And those techniques are being taught through the Black Gold Nation, where there are trained professionals who are in lead positions to train people on these specific techniques of survival as a people to sustain who we are. And so the red, black, green, and gold is the symbol of the Ethiopian matriarch. And this is the rally point where X marks the spot. I need y'all to know that it's our time now to push forward and stand. I am Akshita Veda Christina L. I am the chosen daughter of the matriarch, and I'm in the position of the chair as the chairwoman of the Joint Chiefess of Staff of the matriarch. Rise, moms, it's our time. And I just want to say, I do stand in support of the chosen son of the matriarch in the rise of the Ethiopian Empire and the bloodless revolution of Class Action 567, the People's Revolution. This is Akshita Veda.
All right, Akshita Veda, I gave you some extra time. All right, thank you. Hopefully you'll continue to listen on to the rest of the podcast. Shabaka, first I want to get to John, who's been waiting patiently here. Go ahead, John.
Sure.
You want to make any comments here? Because I don't want to ignore you at the top of and we got a bunch of other callers also, but I want to start with you, John, and then Shabaka. Go ahead, John.
Okay, I got a lot to say. Okay, first thing is we have to learn from history. We have to stop making the same mistakes. There is no way we're going to operate with this same system and get anything different out of it. If you can't figure that out, start thinking about it, because we have to change the complete system of operation. And yes, it is the duty of the people to overthrow the government and abolish it if necessary. It is the legal right of we the people to abolish our form of government completely, by the way. And it's stated many times in our founding documents. It is our right and our duty, okay? And as far as the monetary system, we can't change and have the same thing. We just get the same thing. We need a completely different system. We have to get rid of monetary system. We have to stop teaching the globalist system like they want to teach. Oh, go learn more about the globalist system, how to survive under the globalist system, and then we're still doing the same thing. We're not changing anything. There's no point in rising up to do the exact same thing afterwards. Why? Why even bother? For that, just accept the slavery we have today, the oppression we have today, the division we have today, because if we don't change how we're operating, we will get the same thing. It's lunacy to think that, oh, no, this is the system we have to go under because we always have. Well, we've always failed. It's always been wrong. It's always caused these problems of war. It's always caused the oppression of races, classes, and we got to get past all that. And there's only one way to do it, to completely change the system, eliminate the classes and the races. Everybody is one. I don't want to be a chosen anything.
Man,
I'm not a chosen. I'm one of we the people. I am one of we the people.
Well, we're one as individuals. We're one as being individual. I think that's what you're trying to say, John. We're one as individuals. We're different. We're different than one another. Yes, we are. We all know that. That's common sense. Women and men are not the same. Black and white is not the same. That's fine. But John, take 1 more minute, and then I want to give Shabaka, and then I got a bunch of other callers here I want to get to who may want to talk to you gentlemen. Go ahead.
What I mean, one of we the people. Nobody gets power. Nobody gets the ability to make decisions for others. That is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. I am one because I'm only going to control me. If I do harm to others, it's up to everybody to stop me because we all have to be responsible. We don't need a police force. We police ourselves. We don't need, oh, my God, my neighbor hurt me. No. Well, you got a problem with your neighbor, you deal with it. If it gets out of hand and you guys start hurting each other, maybe the community will get involved. I don't know. It all depends on the situation. But we need to learn to live in peace with each other. And we got to stop the division and worrying about, well, my people are this or I'm that. No, everybody's got to be 100% equal. Everybody. That's when we will discover peace and tranquility.
That's the fault.
All right, Shabaka, go ahead. Your turn. Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you. Okay, first, what you have to look at, when you look at the concept of slavery in this country, why was it so brutal? Now, this is what I'll do. I sit up here and debate with all these people all the time, and they say, oh, well, the black man and woman sold themselves into slavery. Well, if that was the case, what did they sell them for? And then on top of it, why was the European so brutal, particularly to the black male? And as the heavyweight champion said way back in 1974, no. Black men and white men are not brothers. It's because brothers don't go out there and lynch his brother and then cut his private off and put it off in his mouth. That shit is psychotic, okay? Now, and America never addresses that issue right there, such as how they systematically had violated the black woman on the plantation system, such as when they had Black Friday, when white men would go up there and buy young black girls, for their sons coming up, you know what I mean? That's just for them going from boyhood into manhood. Then also, too, is that they don't never, ever want a black man to sit up there and be proud of what he's doing. Don't ever want the black woman to say, hey, I'm proud that's my son. I'm proud that's my father. I'm proud that's my husband. Malcolm taught us on that. And the same thing vice versa. Then you go down to this goddamn psychotic cesspool called Los Angeles, California, where Hollywood is, which is a section of the city of Los Angeles, and look at the bullshit that they perpetuate. See, look what they did to Bill Cosby. Look at all these goddamn smear campaigns that you have against black males. Hell, let's look at what happened with Emmett Till. Hello, crickets. I can't hear nobody.
We're listening.
I'm giving you a space to talk. You want me to answer to that?
Yeah, please, man, go for it.
Well, hang on. All right,
okay.
Let me answer that. Hang on. Let me answer that first. The upper, you get into the organization of slavery, and African slavery and the geographics of slavery. The slavery fact sheets are this. Enslaved Africans came primarily from a region stretching from the Senegal River in northern Africa to Angola in the south.
You mean Senegal, man? You mean Senegal, right?
No. What I'm telling you is facts. I'm giving you fact sheets, not from Google, not from the internet. I'm giving you fact sheets.
This is the right terms, man.
Well, look, the notion of tribes combining and forming a common language and customs with political structure obviously is a very mistaken concept that we're all trying to understand here. that yes, we look at the Portuguese slave trade. Let's look at the Egyptian slave trade. Yes, the Africans suffered the transatlantic slave trade. Hang on, let me answer. You know, let's go to the You want to start with the 17th century? 70% of the people that lived in the States were fewer than 10,000 inhabitants that were slaves that were brought here from their original people from the continent in which they were traded from. Now, if you take that in a concept, we can go to the Spanish slave trade, Portuguese slave trade. We can go to the Mongolian slave trade. All peoples around the globe throughout history have been enslaved in one way, sort or time. But hang on. How do we solve the problem of us all globally being enslaved through the New World Order today? How do we do that?
Sir, my question is, and I asked the same question. I've asked it many times on my podcast. I've made posts about it, and I never got a straight answer. If black people sold themselves into slavery, why were the Europeans so brutal, number one? Also, too, let's look at what the Portuguese did with the Queen of Macamba and her people. What do you think pissed off Queen Nzinga? She fought them bastards for 50 years.
Because of the money. I'm going to give you a straight answer, sir. Because of the monetary system of the money changers of that time. The African kings and queens, actually, the British Empire that were down there in Africa at that time, what was it? It was the 15th century, actually. They actually abolished the slaves.
And the Dutch in the 15th century. The British didn't get in on the scene, man, until like about the late 1600s. Early 1600s.
Okay, all right.
But I'm talking about... Go ahead.
Okay. Now, can I answer the question?
Why are we arguing about the 1600s
let me interject something here.
Why are we not examining the slave trade that's happening today to us? Why are we not addressing the slave trade that's happening today?
Objection. Let me jump in here quickly on behalf of 911. Let me say this. Class Action 567 is the total recall of the matriarch. Not me, John, Shabaka, Barack Obama, or Trump. You better not say a goddamn thing. Either y'all going to give me what I want now or give it to me fast or Mother Nature going to destroy all your ass. Now, here's the proof that I can prove what I'm saying. Here's the proof that I can prove what I'm saying.
Look, we have to learn from the past. It's simple.
Hey, listen. You can go to the past. You can go to the past. Hey, John, I done listen to y'all round robin your shit. Every time I speak, you want to try to intervene. I'm not going to debate you.
All right. Mendelicon, all right. Take 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll move on to other callers because some other callers may have some questions for you. Go ahead, Mendelicon. Go ahead, take a couple minutes here. Go ahead.
All of y'all over 40, you know what I'm getting ready to tell you. All of y'all under 40, you're going to have to remember what you forgot or what you don't want to recognize, and that we need a SOS to save ourselves. Accountability, acts, and assets based on nuclear mad destruction. Most of y'all over 40, you know that in our local county, city, state, and municipalities, in a time of state of emergency, there were yellow and black signs, and there were life-giving institutions to be triaged, whether it was giving you some cheese, some rice, or some pork and beans, or some pork and rice, whatever. That's one thing, but they had cots. They had first aid kits. They had emergency prepared meals in a time of great emergency. And I'm telling you, in 2019, we are in the middle of the Ethiopian Ocean in a canoe without a paddle, black, brown, red, yellow, white, old, young, gay, serious. Why? Because in your local municipalities, you got community centers, you got mosques, you got Hebrew Israelites, Muslims, Christians. They all got these so-called 501c3 buildings, but yet in a state of emergency, and Hurricane Katrina proved it, in a crisis hardship state of emergency of heart or Mother Nature, the people who are indigenous in New Orleans and the capital of voodoo, they were treated like ruffians, renegades, and refugees. What the hell do y'all think is going to happen if a race war or a civil war happen, and we don't have the interconnected society in the local municipalities where people can have sanctuary. There's no water in none of these damn buildings. There's no food. There's no emergency preparedness. There's no power. There's no security. In none of the churches, mosques, synagogues, and community centers, and all these veteran centers, there's not a goddamn thing in there. So I'm telling you, when the world was threatened with nuclear destruction, we all knew to go to the yellow and black sign. And every building that was anything, they had a yellow and black sign up no matter what happened. Today, there ain't no yellow and black sign. We got to create it. That's why the matriarch is here to say everybody got to get an emergency prepared plan to be stable for 40 days and 40 nights no matter what the fuck happens. You have to wait.
All right, Medelicon, I want to move on to other callers here. Medelicon, all right, I gave you a couple minutes here. I want to move on to other callers here. 336, you're first. Someone's got some background noise there. Please, you got to remember your background noise because it's rude to the callers. But before I get to 336, real quick, just a paragraph here from my notes through studying world religion, slavery, and such as this. Just real quick, if people will give me the respect of just reading this, it's just one paragraph here. Although slavery has been practiced for almost a whole record of human history, the vast numbers involved in the African slave trade has left a legacy which cannot be ignored. Slavery in Africa. This is one of the paragraphs that I wrote for a theology paper, actually. It's just one short paragraph, and then I'll move on to the 336. Whether slavery existed within sub-Saharan African Iron Age kingdoms before the arrival of Europeans is hotly contested among African studies and scholars. What is certain is that Africans were subjected to several forms of slavery over the centuries, including chattel slavery under both the imperial Muslims with the trans-Saharan slave trade and imperial Christian Europeans, which we've discussed here tonight on the show, through the transatlantic slave trade. Between 1400 and 1900, close to 20 million individuals were taken from the African continent during four sizable and mostly simultaneous slave trading operations, which includes the Trans-Saharan, Red Sea, Arab, Indian Ocean, and Transatlantic. According to Canadian economic historian Nathan Nunn, which I've studied a lot of his papers actually, very knowledgeable about history, wrote about a lot of great stuff. By 1800, Africa's population was half of what it would have been had the slave trades not occurred. None suggest his estimates based on shipping census data probability represent about 80% of the total number of people stolen from their homes by various slave operations. Okay? These operations, go from the Trans-Saharan to the Transatlantic to the Indian Ocean from 1650 to 1700, which was 1 million people. Transatlantic from 1500 to 1850, 12 million people, which the slave trade had 34 countries involved: Angola, Ghana, Nigeria, the Congo, and the European colonies in the Americas. Okay? The Indian Ocean slave trade, 1650 to 1700, 1 million Africans, 15 countries, to Tanzania, Mozambique, Madagascar, and which their final destination in the end was Middle East, India, and Indian Ocean Islands. The Red Sea slave trade, which was 1820 to 1880, 1.5 million people stolen from Africa, okay, which the destination was 7 countries, including Mendelicon, Ethiopia, Sudan, Chad, Egypt, and the Arabian Peninsula, okay? So, I can go on forever here for years of study of the slave trade, all right? The fact of the matter is we need to learn from history and understand the times in which we live in today and understand those times and move on from yesterday's mistakes and move forward. And that's what we try to do on this show. So, let me move on with other callers, 657-383-0616. If you've got a question for the main people that have been on this podcast here so far, Mendelicon, John, Shabaka, We did have a woman, excuse me. I was told not to say female, so out of respect to my friend there, I'll say woman, a woman from Jamaica. You're more than welcome to ask that question or make a comment here tonight. So let's move on down the line here of callers. I got several private callers I will get to, but I like to try to get numbers that I can recognize here first. 336, you're next. Go ahead.
Yeah, how you doing? Interesting. By the message I got earlier, I thought the show was going to be about 911, but obviously it took another
we
turn.
moved off a topic here a little bit. But
yeah, no kidding. I tuned in. You guys were already talking about reparations and killing white people and a civil war and everything else. I was like, holy shit, what did I step into? But anyway, I was basically going to, when I pressed 1, I was going to reiterate what you just said pretty much. I mean, you know, there's been slaves ever since man's been on Earth, and it still exists today. You know, Europeans sold Europeans, Africans sold Africans, Portuguese sold Portuguese, Egyptians so on, and whites in Scotland and Ireland sold them to do. So it's nothing new. It's not as prevalent as it was, you know, 100, 200 years ago. And thankfully it's died down some because, you know, nobody should be a slave. That's common sense. Everybody knows that. We're born with that instinct. Hey, it's not right. But it still goes on today in ways behind the scenes that people don't see every day. So when people start talking about slave trade, what the hell are they talking about? That shit was over in the 1860s. No, it's still going on today. It's just not right here in front of our face. That's why we don't acknowledge it. But you know, it's a touchy subject anytime you talk about that. But the problem is when it comes to the United States and slavery, we could say we're all enslaved by the government, and that's the way to look at it. But it's nothing like it was back, you know, in the 1800s. And we got to quit living in the past and start, like you said, learning from the past. How can we change tomorrow today? And changing tomorrow ain't going to involve some of the things that I've heard tonight on this show. And if you can't speak to a group of people without using F-bombs and M&Fs and GDs and everything else, no one's ever going to listen to you. Mandela Khan does an excellent job of speaking until he gets excited or aggravated. Then he starts dropping some F-bombs. But that one caller, I don't know who it was, he couldn't form a sentence without cussing. I just turned the volume down. I don't want to hear it. Once you start using M&Fs and MFs, nothing you have to say is irrelevant or important to me because you can't form a sentence in the first place. So, I mean, and I got the same thing from reading the chat room tonight. I know that's their own dialect. That's the way they want to talk. That's fine. But when you're speaking to a group of people, you got to do it eloquently and professionally if you want anyone to listen to you or anything else. But anyway, it's a good show. Everyone's got great ideas and great perspectives on things. And, you know, there's no one right way. A lot of people vocalize different opinions, and a lot of people's opinions probably would work. But nothing's going to work if nobody's on the same page. And the problem is, and I think you touched on this, is you can't get everybody on the same page because there's too many freaking people out there that want to do things their way and their way only, and they'll never join the mass. They'd rather die. And I will say something to Mandela Khan about nuclear destruction. The one problem with nuclear destruction, all these countries having nuclear weapons is, you know what? Nobody wants to die. So to think that we're all going to be wiped out by nuclear weapons, that's a mistake. Even if there was a nuclear war, we'd still live on. What would it look like afterwards? I don't know. We might have 3 arms, 3 legs, 4 eyeballs. Who the hell knows? But it's nobody wants to die. You know, if Russia was so intimate about killing everybody, guess what would have happened in the 60s when Kennedy was around? But most people weren't alive back then to realize the threat or realize how big the tension was back then. Bitbanker was. If he was out here, he could tell you more about it. But it's nobody wants to die. And the first time someone launches a nuclear missile, everybody's going to launch nuclear missiles. And nobody wants that anywhere. And that's it. All right. Hey, I'm going to stay listening as long as I can. I'm working, so.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for your opinion and contribution here tonight. You're absolutely right. We got to try to, language there. You're absolutely right. It turns off a lot of people, and if we're trying to reach everybody, we got to try to have a conversation here where we're not using foul language. You're absolutely correct. I kind of allowed everyone just to go forth here tonight and say what they wanted to say. So that's a good point that you brought up there. I appreciate your call. Let's move on to the next caller here, 304, and then private callers. Go ahead. 304.
Hey, Mr. Gibson, this is Mike from West Virginia, up here in FEMA Region 3. How are you, sir?
Okay. What do you want to bring to the table here tonight, sir?
Well, I got good news. I just got back from a trip to Mendy, Beggy, and Kenso on the land of the red, green, black, and gold, and I wanted to give you my report.
All right. Well, you said you traveled overseas, so you want to give me your report. Go ahead.
Yes, dear brother. This is what I learned when I was there. There's about 37 million people in poverty, and they got about 100 million people over there, and 37 million are in poverty. So they need some help. Rape.
All right. Well, they're in poverty, sir, because of the central bankers. That's why. And what I always say is the New World Order. But why are they in poverty? You think because they're lazy? Because they don't want to work? I mean, what's your point here?
The point was they also got central bank, and that's what they say is the problem for them also. The central bank is depressing the folks and holding them back.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting. I appreciate that. That's my whole point. Is the monetary system, the global monetary system that we have here today. It's suppressing people globally. Okay. I thank you for your call, sir. I appreciate you spending time on hold here and listening to the podcast.
Just a couple
more
points. There's
go ahead real quick, because I got a lot of callers here, and I want to give everyone closing thoughts. We're going to end up in overtime here tonight, so people just out there, if you hang up, if we go into overtime, you won't get your closing thoughts. So to the podcast, I won't go too long, but go ahead, sir, real quick.
2 quick points. Rape, in particular child rape, are very common and too accepted in their society. They want it to stop. And then the last point was about the AIDS. They got big issues with the AIDS, and they're in the top 1% of AIDS penetration in the world. And we've got to get this fixed. And they got a lady running the country, Zudi. She ain't doing anything to fix the people.
All right. Well, we got there's a woman running the country. What country are you talking about exactly? Because many of the countries in Africa are run by women actually today, believe it or not. They're called prime ministers
Eastern
actually.
Africa.
Ethiopia.
This was Eastern Africa. Ethiopia
is run by a woman. You're absolutely correct, Mandela Khan. You're absolutely right. It's a dictatorship. You're absolutely correct. Ethiopia is ran by a woman.
I didn't say that. Let me get my closing comments quickly.
Yeah, I'll get to, you'll have closing thoughts here, Mandela Khan, but let's take some other callers here. Go ahead, real quick. Go ahead, private caller. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Listen, Dr. Leroy touched on an important thing that I wanted to talk about was the cursing that was going on. It's bad enough that people curse, and if you can call me old school if you want. But it sounds a lot worse on a woman or female or whatever you want to call it. Me personally, when I was growing up, we were taught, one, it's bad to curse, and two, it's extremely, extremely bad for a woman, girl, lady, whatever, grandma, mother, sister, whatever you want to call her, if they curse. It was totally inacceptable.
Well, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. In the older days, even when during the slavery days, when this country had the sin of slavery going on, you're absolutely right. People were more polite to each other. They didn't curse like they did. You're absolutely right, and this shows the immorality of our country. I think you're right. I think you're making a great point, bringing up the point of cursing again. I agree with you, and I apologize to the other listeners out there that the cursing did get a little out of hand, but I tried to do a free, open call here tonight where people could say what they want. So your point is noted, and I appreciate that.
But I have two more things. Like I said, I'm not going to stick to this too much. I'm just, Dr. Leroy did do one cuss word, but he turned it around, so thank you for that. My next point, we're going to, Mandela Khan talks about who's got the weapons of mass destruction, who's got this, who's got that, and you know, okay, let's bring out the facts. The only reason these countries do not have these weapons of mass destruction is because they are not technologically
They're not
evolved.
capable of producing them or obtaining them.
Exactly. Yes, they are not. They are not. They have not evolved to be able to produce it because you got to understand these are.
Well, thank God they're not. Thank God they're not. Actually, you know, I say some of these countries. I mean, for goodness sake. Some of these countries out there, like Iran, if they had a nuclear missile, they sure as hell would launch it at Israel or China or the United States. So thank God they're not. You know, that's what I say.
Well, look, let me say this. You cannot hold someone. It's like the old movie, The Karate Kid, when Mr. Miyagi tells Daniel Center they're talking about why learn karate. Well, so you don't have to fight. You don't learn karate to fight. It's so you don't have to fight. Why have the weapons of mass destruction? It's so you don't have to use them. So you don't get attacked. You know, you need to be prepared. Same thing with the right to bear arms. Why do I own a gun? Because I hope to God no one breaks into my house, and if they know that I'm armed, they're not going to break into my house. You know, they're not going to do it. They're going to say, that SOB has a gun, and he will shoot me if I try to vandalize or penetrate his house. It's not going to happen.
You're 100% correct, as someone's saying in the chat room. You're 100%, and I brought that up earlier on in the show. When Shabaka was there, hopefully he's still here. I want to give him some closing thoughts here. But, these sickos that walk into these places and shoot these places up, you know where they are? You know what these places are called? Gun-free zones. You know, these schools out there, they're gun-free zones. You know, look, Israel, we should take a lesson from the state of Israel. They had a Palestinian terrorist, I think it was 16 years ago, walk into an Israeli school and shoot up the classroom and kill a bunch of Jewish kids. Guess what Israel did? All teachers became armed. And guess what? No shooting since. It's a very simple solution. It's a simple solution, like you just said. If my next door neighbor is armed and regulated, and he's bearing arms, I'd be an idiot to go in there and try to rob him. It's common sense. We have the Second Amendment for a reason. Now, people say, well, guns are bad. You know, kill or be killed. We need to get rid of the Second Amendment. No. Look, I agree with look. If the entire world would say, let's get rid of all weapons, guess what? Man would use an axe or a knife to kill or be killed. So the simple fact are, guns are here, weapons are here. So therefore, we the people, and the founders knew this. That's why they wrote the Second Amendment, okay? So we would be able to protect ourselves against individuals or the government when it became tyrannical. And you're right. And Mandela kind of brought this up about aircraft carriers. And you know what? You can own anything you want. You've got to remember, liberty is an individual responsibility. Okay? And if you enjoy your liberties and you abuse your liberties and you hurt someone else, then the community, like John said, should stand up and rally, and that's where we get into the republic form of government, where if one person says that man's not guilty because it's not convincing enough, that person goes free. That's what a republic is all about, not mob rule, where the majority or democratic rule, a democracy. If you ever watch on Fox News, fake Fox and Friends, or CNN, and they say, and they got a guest on there, a contributor that says, we're a democracy. Just turn off that TV right now. Turn it off, because that person's lying to you. We are not a democracy. We are supposed to be a republic. Okay? But, sir, I appreciate the phone. Finish up your point, sir, and then I got to get a couple more callers, go into overtime, and get closing thoughts to all my guests here tonight. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I would have made it brief, but you did cut me off. So, but anyway, I'm sorry. Look, what I'm getting at is to my next host or co-host or guest, the people that talk about the matriarch. I just okay. I'll look it up. I'll look up the information. If you guys could just post a website or something, I want to know where all this is coming from because I've studied history and I don't know what 5, 6, 7.
Well, Mandela Khan may be able to explain that. He talks about the Ankh a lot here on this show, and maybe you're right. A lot of people don't know about the matriarch. They don't know, and that's what I always try to ask. And people do touch upon it briefly, but where they can find the matriarch or get in contact with the matriarch, that would be something we need to work on here on this show, Mandela Khan. And maybe Mandela Khan in his closing thoughts will explain that. So, sir, thank you so much.
Wait. Say it slow so I could write it down. That's one. And I heard that Mr. Chewbacca has a show also. I'd like to follow up on him as well. And
okay.
That's
all right, Chewbacca, you want to promote your show? Go ahead. Go ahead, Chewbacca. Are you still there? I think Chewbacca may have dropped on us on the phone line there.
And one last thing to Mr. John. John, you bring up very good points. But
we're now in overtime, folks, so if you hang up, you won't get back on for your closing thoughts. So I just want to let everyone know that right now. So go ahead. I think Chewbacca lost. He has another follower here. But go ahead, sir. Wrap it up.
Well, it's not that I want to know what I'm talking about when I go to listen to them or debate them or ask them questions. It's not so much I want to be confrontational, but I do get interrupted. So just let me interject here. Look, Mr. John, you talk about we're all we the people and this and that, and we should share this and we should share that. And I've heard people say this to you on your show, and I agree with this. It's if I worked a little bit or a lot harder than someone else, why are they going to be entitled to or have the same entitlement from someone that just sits and does nothing? I don't get that. No way.
I actually agree with you on that, sir. John, I'll let you answer that, John. I'll let you answer that in your closing thoughts. Well, real quick here, a couple other callers have been waiting a long time, sir, so get all due respect here.
That's all I have to say. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm going to mute your mic here. And John will answer that. I'm sure he will. So two more callers that were waiting a long time, and then closing thoughts to everybody. I lost Chewbacca, so next private caller. Go ahead. Yeah, all right. That's Tony Talk garbage. That's Tony Talk garbage right there. Okay, 305, real quick, 305. Go ahead.
Yeah, how you doing, man? This is Maurice, and man, we got Chewbacca, we got Arch of Vader. It feels like I'm in a sci-fi Star Wars or something, you know. But yeah, yeah, I was like, wow. But, I like your show. Keep doing what you're doing. And that's all I got to say, man.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you calling in, pressing 1. All right, we'll get the closing thoughts here now. Closing thoughts to everybody. Closing thoughts. Right. Let's see here. Chewbacca, are you there still by any chance, or did you hang up? All right, maybe not. All right, I think I still got the woman here from Jamaica, maybe. I don't know. I got so many people on the phone line here. Let me scroll up here. I want to give everyone closing thoughts here. John, why don't you, since you were addressed here at the end, why don't you give some closing thoughts to the podcast tonight, and then I'll move to Mandela Khan and see who else I got here who wants to do some closing thoughts. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Look, I understand how people are going to feel, he's getting the same as I'm getting, and he's doing less. But, it comes down to liberty, the responsibility, a personal responsibility, that we start teaching to be personally responsible for your actions, to do your part. I'm not saying it would be 100% right overnight, but as long as we get in that path, people will understand and will start to, instead of being indoctrinated about money and capitalism and stepping on everybody, into helping everybody and doing their part. It would take a little bit of time for some people to get with the program. But people that notice that people aren't doing nothing, they're going to get called out on the fact they're not going to work. They're not producing, and they're taking. Okay, they're going to be held accountable. Something will have to be done with the ones that want to just take advantage of everybody else, But that's a small part of it because most people want to produce. Most people want to go to work, do what they enjoy doing. It's not a matter of being told what you have to do. Choose the profession that you want to do, And the kids growing up, they are going to be getting into the professions more likely than what their parents are into because they're just going to follow suit like it used to be a long time ago, how we used to get our last name, based on our what we did for a living. John Smith was a blacksmith, So his son ended up being a Smith and a Smith and a Smith. And when you do it like that, every generation does better than the generation before because they're teaching their children everything they know and they're working side by side. I mean, there is a benefit to it. Look, if you got everything you want in life and you're doing your part, you're proud, you're doing your thing. If you see somebody that's not, okay, say something. Point it out. Let them know, look, man, you're going to have to get with the program. Point it out to the people in your community. Eventually, they'll shame him into doing something right or run him out of town, whichever case may be. Okay? But that's later on. For now, let's get the system going. Because for the most part, look, I love working. I never had a problem with working. And I didn't work for the amount of money I was making. I worked by the job, what I was doing, to get as much done and as good as I possibly could. I know there's a lot of people like that in this world. They take pride in what they do. That's why they get offended when their boss points out, hey, you're doing this wrong, because they thought they were doing it right. And they get offended. And I've had to deal with that a lot. It's kind of hard to approach people sometimes. But I think it's just personal accountability, and we have to start teaching it. Personal responsibility. We have to start teaching it. But until we implement it, it's never going to be starting to get taught. It's never going to be implemented. We will never evolve as a race of human beings. We will never become what they call a sanctioned race. We will always be warmongering, greedy, oppressive, and slaves. And we got to get past this. We got to learn from the past. Look, there's no lying about it. Slavery has been going on forever. We can complain about it. We can try to unite with our people against it, but that's only helping the government to keep us divided. As long as you're uniting with your groups, you're dividing the rest of the world. So you just now cause a division that keeps the oligarchy in power over us, to where they can put a police force and a police state over our heads because we're at odds with each other. So you're justifying the tyranny and the oppression. We have to look at each other and judge each person for who they are and how they act. I love a lot of the things most people say.
And John, real quick before I get to Mandela Con, what about 9/11? I know you want to give us. I need to remind you about 9/11.
9/11, man. That's the oligarchy. They got to keep the fear mongering. They got to keep the wars going. They got to have excuses to send our military into other countries. False flags. It's happening every day. It's still happening. They're going to have another big one where they're going to put us to war with something else. It's coming soon, I'm sure. It'll probably be before Trump gets out of office. There's going to be a big attack, and we're going to have an excuse to go to war with someone else, which is going to be our own government attacking us. And what scares me the most, the next 9/11 is going to be a chemical attack, but it will never actually be a chemical here. It's going to be done through 5G. They're going to hit one of the grids. They're going to turn on an area. They're going to annihilate the people in that area. They're going to say, hey, everybody stay away. There's chemicals that are dangerous there. This is what I feel is going to happen. I just see it because that 5G is a microwave weapon, and turned up high enough, it will fry your brains. Literally fry the brain. Cook it.
And John, we need to talk about that. Maybe that's a good show here. Talk about the technology these bankers and these that the governments out there really actually have. I think Dr. Leroy would be interested in that show. What technology is exactly out there that could be used against us? That would be an interesting show. I think that would really be interesting. All right, John,
okay.
thank you so much. I'll leave you on the line, of course. MandelaCon, you want to give some closing thoughts here to the podcast? Go ahead.
Absolutely. On behalf of the Ethiopian Empire, the total recall that has been entered on 911 and understand the times in which we live. And it's extraordinary that proves by the testimony that I am the judge, the exigency, transferring power to the matriarch. The testimony is this. After 3 years on 911, there were 3 women who graced the airwaves because of the Pan-African Intelligence Network and the Voodoo Child. One was from Jamaica. She was entered into international public record. And the other was another woman who said that she is for international law, not with the Constitution, and thanks MandelaCon for inviting her to speak tonight. And then there was, of course, Arceda Veda. Now, if I go back to any man under the Masonic order of the patriarch, including Shabaka, I can mention Joe, John, Dr. Leroy, and a plethora of men who consistently, the usual suspects, who refuse to recognize the matriarch, but yet live and in living color on 911, 3 women, because of my commercial, came to the aid of the people under Class Action 567, which is the matriarch, right? And then when it comes to Ethiopia, compare your civilized governments here. Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey.
I think Shabaka actually is in the chat room, MandelaCon. I wish he didn't hang up because I wanted to give him closing thoughts actually. So I just wanted to let him know that. But go ahead, MandelaCon. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Okay. There's always selective amnesia when black nationalism like Shabaka or white nationalism like you, John, Joe, Dr. Leroy, whatever, under the Confederate flag, the USA flag, red, white, and blue, and the Constitution. The why that's so slanted is because the matriarch of Ethiopia, she is now sitting on the throne of David, the conquering lioness of Judah. And in the United States of America, y'all going to be running next year telling everybody, run to the polls to vote for tyrants. And your only choice is Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Donald Trump. That's an atrocity. When the mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers are witnessing their families being destroyed with the misappropriation, the misallocation of the budgets, the commodities that's in Mother Earth. So I'm telling you, from Maine to Florida, Washington State to California, from the UK, US, Kentucky, from the Congo to the Bronco, the throne of David, her name is Sally, S-A-L-H-E, Work, W-O-R-K, Z-E-W-Z-E, right? She is now my leader that took over from Winnie Mandela, and I didn't follow Nelson Mandela. You understand me? Winnie Mandela was the leader of the international movement that brought everybody together. And look at how apartheid is terrible now in South Africa, where Africans are killing other Africans from the continent. Why? Because there is no United States of Africa. We were supposed to authorize the United States of Africa in 1965 with the red, black, and green. We included the gold standard, and that's the proper authority. That's the mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and the continent of Africa, which is the wealth to give a global reset, because we don't need no 40 acres of mule and no reparations. What we need is to connect each other at home and abroad, and there's not an illegal alien European invader. I don't care about the Bible, Torah, the Quran, or your Constitution, Declaration of Independence. You have no right to say a word on how we exercise our Kuji Chakalea, that's self-determination and independence. We have a right and a duty to move east, west, north, and south, unhindered, unfettered, with no contract that was illegal, no matter who started. And I want to say this about this wall. Real wall, if there was going to be a wall in the Americas, we should have built a wall when we saw the illegal European invaders coming. That's when the fuck we should have built a wall, right? But now it's too late to build a wall now. So ain't going to be no wall built. We're going to separate shit until we get right. And we are here to say we the people, by the people, for the people, of the people. We have a right and a duty to arrest every legislator because they are using the war on drugs and the war on terrorism to destroy the whole planet. But guess what, Dr. Leroy, watch this. I don't care if you shoot every atomic bomb that y'all got. I hope y'all do that shit. Guess who's going to be here to repopulate the rest of the earth again? Me and somebody looking like me, right? So I ain't
Oh, God, that's a scary thought, Mandela-Khan.
I vomited a little bit in my mouth.
My weapon is my tongue. Listen, I ain't got no knife or a gun. My weapon is my tongue. And on behalf of the Ethiopian Empire of Live and Let Live in One Love and Class Action 567, I'm going to rat-tat-tat-tat on the ass of injustice until victory's won. Because mothers all over the planet are seeing that the Masonic Order and the Patriarch, that Dr. Shabaka, Dr. Leroy, Dr. whoever, and the more doctors we get, goddammit, the sicker and sicker we get. We don't need no more leaders and doctors. We are the people that we've been waiting for, and we don't need no single bullet theory that here's the next great leader. Fuck the leaders. It's about the people now. I'm telling you, Goddess is now introducing herself under the Ankh, the symbol of life, fertility, and live in one love. And ain't no weapon formed against us shall prosper. We don't need to shoot.
All right, they're going to cut me off any second. Hey, Mandela-Khan, they're going to cut me off any second. Hey, listen, next show Sunday night, guys. Take care. God bless. Take care. Great show tonight.